All right. What's going on, everybody? How you doing today? I'm Jay. Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A live stream, the somewhat daily live stream they do talking about coffee and helping you to understand coffee better and answer any questions you might have. And so I'm your host, Jay, and every weekday or most weekdays at 10 a.m., we're here doing the Coffee Q&A. And if you're one of our regular viewers, thank you for coming back. Or if you're new, welcome to the show. If you've been following you, as you can see, I'm still here in the studio. I was planning to go to Boston yesterday, and turns out I got a little bit exposed, potentially exposed to COVID. My brother got it, and his wife got it, his daughter got it, and I didn't want to go to a hospice with potentially carrying COVID, so I decided I'm wait. And then luckily, my nephew did not get it, so I've actually been taking him around and caring for him, taking him to school and picking him up and all that kind of thing. So I don't know when I'm going to go to Boston yet. Maybe next week, So we'll see. But anyway, welcome back. Glad to have you, Mom. How are you, man? Good to see you. How are things up there in the city? So today's video, we're going to be talking about coffee from Colombia. It's a geisha coffee, and if you're not familiar with geisha is this varietal of coffee that was really kind of promoted starting in the mid 2000s. The very first geisha that I came across was from the Hacienda La Esmeralda in Panama by Price Peterson. And back in 2005, my mentor was one of the people that bought the first true auction lot of geisha that really hit the market and really just kind of captured the industry's attention. And so that coffee back in 2005 from the Hacienda La Esmeralda, I'm having a hard time speaking, was bought for $21.50 per pound, which in 2005 was an astronomical price, like a price you just never would have imagined paying. Like people were crazy for it. So I was able, because he was my mentor, I got some of the coffee to try, and so it was really pretty, floral and very different. I'm a big natural process person, so I really like these Ethiopian naturals that have really beautifully and heavy like blueberry, right? So I remember in 2003 I was at Stumptown in Portland, Oregon, and we tried this natural harar, and man, it had such amazing blueberry fruit qualities to it. It was so apparent in the cup. It was like amazing, and so that's really what I always gravitated towards. And the geishas tend to be lighter, more tea-like, more floral, a little bit more expressive in that way. And so today's coffee is a geisha from Colombia, from Hernan Calderon. And Hernan owns a place called, oh no, now I've forgotten the name. Anyway, it's in the description down below. If you just click on that, it'll tell you the description. But he has this farm in Huila, in the department of Huila in Colombia. And he produces this coffee, and it's really well regarded. He's a really well regarded. Let me show you this from here. Well, thank you. Thank you there, Mom, for letting me know that. I hope that works now. How's that sounding now? I have been babbling on for the last 4 minutes. Okay, good. All right, so let's rewind again. I'm Jay. Welcome to the Coffee Q&A. We're here pretty much most weekdays. I did not go to Boston because my brother got COVID. My sister-in-law got COVID. My niece got COVID. I saw them, and so I was kind of concerned about going to a hospice in Boston and bringing COVID there. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to go for a few days, wait it out, just make sure I don't get anything. I haven't shown any symptoms. My nephew did not get COVID, so I have actually been taking him to school for the last couple of days, yesterday and now today. And which has been a fascinating like journey for me because I don't have children, right? So I've never had this experience of having to care for kids. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing. We're at the coffee Q&A. Most weekdays, we're here 10 a.m. doing coffee and answering questions about coffee, so things like that. And then today's coffee is from Veneziano Coffee Roasters. This is a Colombian coffee, a geisha varietal made by Hernan Calderon, and he has a farm in Huila, Colombia, and it's about 1,300 meters. He has 7 hectares of land that he's cultivating, and this is a geisha, a washed geisha. This is apricot, chamomile, lavender for the flavor notes. And then, as you can see, it's a fully washed, roasted on the 4th of April, 2023. I got this coffee from a dear friend of mine, a world Barista Champion Pete Licata. I've known him for many, many years. And he gave this to me, as well as giving me this brewer. So a couple years ago, Pete, if you've seen some of the videos on the channel, you've probably seen one of the videos. Pete has developed this thing, and it's called the Hario W60. This is actually the W60 with the drip assist. This is the drip assist. We're going to put that aside because we're not really going to use that. What this drip assist is, and those of you who are like really into a lot of the gadgetry of home brewing, you'll be familiar with something like this. I know that Hoon loves to show this one thing that it's kind of on a little handle that has this clear plexi like shower head on it, and this is kind of a similar idea where it sits on top of like the W60, right? It'll sit on top of the W60, or it'll sit on top of the V60. Yeah, that does work. Yeah, it kind of, maybe it doesn't fit perfectly, but and what this does, it creates kind of a shower pattern over your coffee. I don't really understand how it works. I've tried it a couple times, and you'd think that there'd be some restriction in the flow rate, and I'm sure there is, but it's not like you could just pour it and it does, it just keeps going. But if you can look closely here, what looks like little scratches, I'll highlight that. What looks like little scratches in here is actually Pete's signature. I just noticed that now. I didn't notice that before. Anyway, so we're making coffee. No, not with this. With the W60. And the W60 is this kind of evolution on the V60 where it's ceramic. It has this bulbous shape because so Pete Licata worked on, he was the one that really helped with the development of this in conjunction with the designers at Hario. And Hario wanted to go with this kind of bulbous shape because it represents like a tulip cup. And the tulip cup, I don't know why, but, and if we look at the what do you call it, the ribbing, the Venturi pattern, it's a little bit less, I think it looks a little bit less dramatic, slightly more dramatic, I think, than the V60. But the orifice opening is about the same, I think. Yeah, they're more or less the same. I think for all intents and purposes, they are the same size. But anyway, so this is the idea is that you've got this conical brewer that all will fit a standard V60 paper filter. And one of the things Pete was telling me, there's a video out there from the show that Pete was showing me how he makes it. And what he doesn't like about the V6 or filters is that, like, let's say this filter here, when you put it in the V60, it sticks out a little bit, right? So evidently that really irritates Pete. Doesn't really bother me, but it really bothers him. And so when he was designing this, he wanted it to be taller so that the filter sits completely. Let me adjust this exposure. So that the filter fits completely inside the brewer. Okay, and so for him, that's really important. For me, whatever. Now, on top of that, it has this mesh filter, right? This mesh. See, that's the thing. When I need now to be more boosted. There we go. So this mesh filter is, it's a fabric type of mesh, right? Kind of looks like the cupola from the ISS. You're just kind of like looking out at the world. Anyway, so this has a relatively fine mesh, but not really thick. It will let some sediment through the brewing during the brewing process. Now, there are 3 ways to use this brewer, and so Pete was telling me that you can just use it like a pour over. You can use it with just this, right? So no filter, just the mesh filter. So it just kind of sits there, so it kind of like rides in the center, right? Or you can use them both in conjunction with the filter, which gives you a 2-stage filtration method. And we're going to go through that because I'm still trying to get a feel for that and really understand what and why I want to do that. Because this obviously is going to add more work, right? You have an extra piece to clean, extra piece to brew through. Why? I don't know. These are the questions that we ask here in the Coffee Q&A because we're curious minds who want to know. Now, we're going to take our coffee first. We're going to measure our typical ratio, 24 grams for a 12-ounce serving. And we're going to use the Venezia, the Gesha. Let's open it up and... Ooh, there is a nice fruitiness, like a juji fruit. I don't know if you remember juji fruit gum, like that. I don't know if they still make juji fruit gum. All right, let us look at measuring out our 24 grams. Perfect. So look at the roast. The roast is relatively light. Looks pretty even. Veneziano is a very well-regarded roaster down in Australia. And so we should expect good results, good roasting. Now, bear in mind, this coffee is now 6 months old. Now, is that a problem? I don't think so. So here's the theory, the basic theory about old coffee, not age. This is different than age, right? So old coffee is, we've already gone through the week where we did the testing with cupping or tasting the coffee every day after roast. So there's this whole period of post-roast CO2 degassing that happens for about the first week. Second week, it starts to come to a done. So we theorize that like a month, 2 months, a month later, it really becomes beautiful. Like a lot of people that I know, they're really into espresso a month later, right? That's when they feel that the coffee has really reached its perfection and balance, and it just gives a great result. So the theory is that about 2 months after roasting, the coffee has degraded to the point where it's not going to really change much for maybe 2 years. Now that's the 2 years really is just kind of like us extrapolating that data out. But actually, I have some coffees that are kind of getting old, about 18 months old. So we're going to be trying some of those as well in the future. But this one's about 6 months. I don't expect it to be bad. Like it's nicely roasted. The water content, the moisture is going to be 2 to 3%. So that's not really an issue. So let's get into the grinding. We're going to grind it up to our about the same grind setting we normally use for pour over. And of course, we're using our compact R80 grinder, 80 millimeter flat burrs, made in España. Let's have a look at that. There it is, ground. Does that look nice to you? Yes. Yeah, again, really light with the juji fruit. What is that? Maybe like a fruity pebbles, like a light fruity pebbles. It's not like you open a bag of fruity pebbles and like, ooh, this is like really like light. Okay, so what we're going to do, of course, we're going to use our Yama because I still haven't received that one from Fellow. And then our W60 setup, of course, like as you know, we're going to take this. We're going to have the filter, and then we're going to put our thing on top. And then, we're going to bring the water to a boil. Pete was like, you want the water to be as super hot as you can possibly make it. We're adding our coffee. We're going to tear our scale. All right, can you see that? No, you can't see that. Okay, that's probably better. All right, good. Now we're set up. That's a max zoom there. We're going to wait for the coffee to boil again. We're going to get our kettle. So if you're watching live, if you have any questions, let me know. And then if you're watching on the replay, your questions, drop them in the comments down below. You know, the whole deal. That whole, subscribe, like, hit the button, whatever people do in YouTubing world. We want to make sure it's a nice. So Pete was like, okay, make sure it's nice and hot and boiling just off the boil because we're going to be using the ceramic, and we're not really preheating the ceramic of the W60, so we want to get it nice and hot. And we're also going to brew in a way where we're not going to run across the sides, right? We want to keep it in the center because unlike on the inside, if we're using the actual V60 or W60 or any kind of brew, there is a big gap here. So if you push the water to the edge, like along this side or here, it will kind of flow through the filter or through the mesh and not necessarily extract the coffee. We don't want that. We do want extraction of the coffee. All right, the water's boiling. We'll transfer it to our pouring kettle. And then we're going to start our timer as well. We'll just kind of go with the normal wetting. We're going to try to wet it up. I wonder if we're going to get flow before 12. Oh, yeah, now we're getting flow 15 grams. We're starting to get some flow through. All right, so Pete was talking about doing a relatively constant pour. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go to 350 grams of water. Now, if you want to see the video that Pete made, that Pete was demonstrating this, I do have a link in the description down below. So just scroll down to the description, and you'll get to see Pete brewing this. He designed it. He knows how it works best. And just standing here from the distance, right? I'm standing here above it. I can smell that fruitiness. That's really pretty. Like it's a floral fruit. That's what it is. It's a floral fruitiness, which I think is the best way to describe like Fruity Pebbles. I want to keep it in the center. We're not going to go to the edge. Actually, Pete has this term for the edge brewing that I kind of like, but I can't remember what it is. So I first, did a video maybe 2 years ago when Pete first came out with this about this brewer, but I didn't have the brewer, so I just kind of did a mock-up using a V60 and another mesh filter that I had around the shop, and the results were okay. I think I don't remember. There is a video out there as well, so you can look on the channel. I forgot about it and did not put a link in the description, but it was okay. But there was a lot of sediment. The sediment that will go through. So because it's not a paper filter, it's a very fine mesh. There is sediment that will flow through the coffee, the filter. And that when you're doing your secondary filter, that will kind of clog up the paper filter. So Pete has a technique that he showed us when we were making the other video where he solves that, and it's it was kind of a funny thing to me. I was like, oh, that was really kind of a cheat, but it makes sense. It makes sense and I'll explain that as we go through that a little bit more. All right, we're at 257. We're now at 2 minutes, 32 seconds. I'm actually pouring relatively fast compared to doing a normal pour over because there is a two-stage process. So I think that I can go a bit faster. I think. As you can see, there's still most of the whiteness is here in the center because I have been staying away from the edge. So if you watch that video that I had with Pete, he is, this is actually the same setup exactly, meaning that this is the very same coffee and the very same V60 from that video. Baldhead, good morning, man. How are you? Just making your coffee. Excellent, excellent. All right, 329. I'm going to push it all the way to the 350 that we need. Oh, we're already at 331, so we are kind of running maybe a little bit behind the curve. All right, so it's kind of flowing through the filter pretty well. Okay, so it's flowing through the filter, and we're about 3 minutes 48 seconds. So within the time period that we want. Now, as you can see, there's still a little bit of liquid in here. Pete was showing in the video. He's just like, basically, you could take it. You've already done the brew. It's already done the extraction. This is just removing any kind of minor sediments. And he was like, just squeeze it out. Oh, it's actually pretty darn hot. Okay, that's not smart. Just squeeze it out. So I'm going to squeeze some of it out. There it is. And so let's have a look inside this filter. So there it is. There is some sediment that has passed through. Actually, that's pretty, when you think about French pressing your coffee, this is very small amount of sediment left over. Now this, we just throw it away. But the conundrum here, not the conundrum, but like, this is a little bit more clean. So I'm going to tap this out into the trash can, and it does leave it relatively clean. So I'm going to turn it over in the sink and then hit it with the water from the kettle to rinse it out. To rinse it out. And yeah, relatively clean. I'll go through that a little bit more precisely after the video. And this, we just rinse this out a little bit. All right, now we have our elixir. Interesting, like that juji fruit, not the juji fruit. No, not juji fruit. I was saying juji fruit. That's not exact. Juji fruit, yeah, that's good. I was thinking more fruit stripes gum. With the zebra that has the colored stripes. That's the flavor of the aroma that I'm thinking about. No, but that's kind of diminished now that it's brewed. So let's get a little taste of it and see what will happen. So, because it is going through the paper filter at the end of the day, good clarity, right? Look at that. That's nice looking elixir there. Look at that. I like that. How is it? Initially, it's dry on the palate. There is a drying effect as I'm tasting the coffee. A little bit of bitterness, maybe the fruitiness, not really there. Like it kind of has this character of like let's say you take a black tea, right? Like let's say English breakfast, for example. And you put it in water and you steep it for 4 minutes and it's got a nice flavor. But if you steep it for like 10 minutes, it has that little bit of dry tannicness to it. That's kind of what I'm tasting here. Now, the question is that a factor of being 6 months old? Probably. Like, I don't really know geisha very well, and I don't know geisha like on a long-term basis. Most other coffees tend to perform well, but maybe if we're looking to capture these really light floral notes, then it probably has affected. And actually, if we look at, I was reviewing the video with Pete earlier today, but I did not finish it, so I didn't actually I forgot to listen to the part that I discussed what we tasted in the cup. So you'll have to go back and take a look at that if you're interested to see like, oh, what did I taste then? Like on the nose, very light, very floral, very fruity, very much what I would perceive, what I would think about being a geisha, right? Very much so. And as it's cooling, it's getting better, like it's getting more expressive. But as it was pretty warm on the first taste, that tannicness, that like over steeped tea tannicness and dryness was kind of predominant, but it's actually calming down now. Okay, we're going to wait a couple moments to see as it cools a little bit more. Like there's definitely some lighter tones, some fruitier notes. Could be more apricotish, yeah, for sure. I don't know about the lavender. But anyway, while we're waiting, I was wondering, like, how does it look today? Like, it looks to me on my monitor, looks a little bit contrasty, but finally got that new light that I was mentioning to you. And I'll just kind of share it with you. This is the Amaran 60D. It is a 60 watt LED type of light. And this is what I got. So it's a nice little compact, light, not incredibly powerful. 60 watts is not heavy duty in the world of like lighting for YouTube or studio lighting, but it's a decent quality. It's a good quality. It's good quality, not just decent. It is good quality, and it does have Bowens mounts, which is just ways you can attach different accessories. This is a reflector that has a diffusion screen on it, and there's an identical one to this that's hanging actually here for the key light. So this is now the key light. It's about 40% intensity. So, okay, so Bald Head, what's going on? Bald Head says that the color balance looks better. Good. I'm trying to do, it's now more daylight balanced rather than incandescently balanced. Tungsten balanced, I guess you'd say. This will do both, so it's a bi-directional light. Most of the lighting that I have is bi-directional. Not many of them are like RGB type of lighting. And trying to get better coverage, hopefully it's more even. But I do see, like over here, it's casting shadows. So I've got this. We're actually using 3 lights, and the two primary, the old primary is up here. The other secondary fill is over there, and now the new primary is over here. So I don't know. It's actually designed so that we can flip it's actually set up reversing where you are with where I am. If I put the camera where I'm standing and shot the other way, on the other videos, you'll see the reverse angle of this. And that's really how this lighting was designed, was for that shot, not really for this. So now I have to change all that and try to find the better balance. All right, so let's have another taste. Let's see if it's how it's changed, if it has. That's still, the aroma is still very like light, floral, fruity, pleasant, like really inviting. Okay, that tannicness has diminished significantly. There's a little bit like on the back of my tongue. It's still there, but now it's really just more light tea-like fruit. Maybe the closest thing I would say is like, if you've ever had Chinese black lychee tea, right? The black tea that's flavored with lychee, which I love. It's a very light version and more florally version of that. One of my good friends who lives in Bangkok, he's not a coffee person. He loves coffee, but he's not a coffee industry guy. Like I remember years ago, he were talking about this geisha, and he was like, if I want a coffee that tasted like tea, I just drink tea. He's not a fan of the geisha, and I get it. Like it's very light, it's very florally compared to like the typical thoughts of what coffee is. Wilson, good to see you, man. Welcome to the show. How you doing? Happy to have you. But this is nice. It's very nice coffee, light-bodied. Really easy, kind of cheerful. Now the bag says apricot chamomile. Oh, maybe that could be some chamomile. Yeah, okay. You know how when you're drinking chamomile tea, there's this kind of light astringency? That definitely is featured here. That definitely is where I would see a chamomile connection. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is that this is a bag, excuse me, that was that says apricot, chamomile, lavender. And those, like the chamomile, I can see. The apricot, I can see. Lavender, I don't know, maybe a little bit. Yeah, sure. But one thing to keep in mind when you're talking about coffees, remember that this coffee was roasted in April, right? And it's now October. The coffee was grown in 2022, I'm presuming, and was shipped to Veneziano. They had to they had to figure out how to roast it. They had to cup it. They figured out what kind of flavors it was, and then most importantly, they had to print the labels that this is covering the bag. Now, that all takes time, right? So one of the things to keep in mind as you're reading different descriptions and labels on bags and stuff like that is that there could be a quite significant time between the day that they wrote those descriptions and the day that you bought the coffee and the day that you actually drank the coffee. So while the flavor notes that you see are guidelines, some people I know are like, well, it's not this and it's not that. And it says on the bag, but it's not that. And I said, well, it doesn't have to be. You can't expect it to be that. You have to kind of come with the realization that, they may have written that description months ago. So just keep that in mind. That's just a little tidbit to think about. All right. So the coffee, the Veneziano Colombia Gesha Hernan Calderon from Huila, Colombia, fully washed geisha, really quite nice, light, fruity, agreeable. So we did get some characteristics of that caramel, that kind of like astringency of the caramel. There was a little bit of tannicness and bitterness on the very beginning when it was still hot, but as it's cooled down now, really kind of pretty, much more enjoyable. Notes of like a little bit of fruity pebbles on the nose. Also, fruit stripes gum is something that I kind of thought about when I was smelling. But it's weird. It's like sometimes, I get a little bit of the fruit stripes, and then now it's like maybe like a baking. And for some reason, it kind of reminds me of brownies. Baldhead, some cuff says that some roasters just coffee import. Very true, very true. But Veneziano is not I would be very disappointed if I learned that Veneziano simply just copied, let's say Su Cafe's descriptions on it. Like, I think these guys they're reputed to be a lot better than that. But anyway, that's just some thoughts for the day. All right, looks like I'll be back. I'm still in town, so it looks like we'll be doing another live stream tomorrow at 10 a.m. More coffee. I've kind of worked out the taking the kid to school and dropping them off, handling all that, and then making sure that they have to get showered and brush their hair, brush their teeth. It's like, okay, we're ready to go. Get down there, fight through the traffic. Gosh, there's a lot of traffic out there. I have a little bit of a charmed life in that where I live and where I work is very, very close. So I don't really have to engage in traffic very much. So I'm like, oh my gosh. All right. So back in tomorrow, 10 a.m. Hope you have a great day. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope the brewing is good. And see you next time.